Hello everyone and welcome to another Chess Secrets video. And today I will discuss and show you the fastest way to improve your chess. Everybody wants a shortcut in chess to try and improve the fastest way possible. And honestly, there's probably not any shortcut. There's ways that'll help you improve, quicker. But I would say the fastest way to improve your chess is to study tactics. So everybody knows that, or most people do. But what is the best way to study tactics? How should you go about it? So I've read a few books about this and seen it pop up in videos from time to time. And it's such an important subject, when you're trying to improve your chess, that I thought I would share this. So you want to study tactics, of course, because most games, especially with beginners, intermediates, all the way up to probably master level, many games, if not most of them, are lost due to tactical error. How do you fix that? What do you do to improve it? Well, one of the best ways is to do tactical problems. So, take a look at this one here. It is white's turn to move. What would white do in this position? So, not only do puzzles or problems once and then forget about them. Many people might go online, do some puzzles or in a book, and then you forget about those puzzles, and you might remember that information for a short while, but much of what you see and learn, you may forget if you don't repeat it. So one way to do this is to get a set of problems, like this one here. Start with basic tactics, very simple things. So, here I'm going to start with the pin. So hopefully you saw in this problem that white has a chance to pin the queen to the king. So this is basic stuff that beginners need to learn, that more advanced players should see fairly quickly most of the time, if not all the time. Of course, people miss things. So you start with simple tactics like the pin here. So the rook moves attacking the queen, and the queen can't move because it's pinned to the king, and that would be illegal. So the queen is forced to either capture or wait for the rook to capture, and white should be winning here. So, if we take a look at the evaluation, white is ahead plus 4.7, and the computer recommends that the queen just captures the rook, and then white would recapture with check and be ahead, winning. So the fastest way to improve is to find a bunch of these tactics problems. Start with something simple, maybe one move tactics. So I'll move on to the next problem here and show you some examples. Let's see here. So problem number 2. Okay, so once again, white to move here, what would you do? Take a look at it, see if you can figure it out. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, we'll take a look at the evaluation. White is ahead by plus 4.8. And of course, the best move is bishop to b5, another pin. So your goal by doing these tactic problems is to become familiar with the common themes in different tactics, and then you should repeat those problems and kind of drill them into your memory. And a good strategy is to get a group of tactical problems, maybe start with 50 or 100, and you can work your way up to even more. But let's say you start with 50 tactical problems that are pretty easy. You go through them and take your time to solve them and work your way through all 50 of them. Well, instead of just forgetting about them after that, start back at the beginning and go through the tactic problems again and try to solve them faster. And then you repeat this process, trying to solve them faster each time, and you could time yourself. And it also depends whether the problems are difficult or easier. That'll determine how much time each one takes you. Here, the queen is pinned. So the common theme is just learning how to pin pieces. And your goal will be, by repeating these tactical problems and going over them multiple times, they'll kind of be ingrained or burnt into your memory, and you'll see them faster and faster. And then when you play, you'll see a lot more of these tactics, overlook tactics less often. Hopefully you'll get to a point where you hardly overlook tactics at all, unless they're really complicated ones. All right, so here white would be winning by almost +5. The computer recommends blocking here, and of course the queen would then be captured. So another example of how to use a pin to your advantage, and I'll move on here to the next problem. All right, problem number 3. Okay, in this position it is black's turn to move. So you could try all different problems in your group of tactics that you study. I would recommend switching it up. Some with the board full of pieces, so you have to look more closely. Others like this, pretty simple, where there's not much going on because there's hardly any pieces on the board. But if we look at this with black to move, the game is even here. It looks like white is winning, but after another pin with bishop to c7, then what can white do here? He'll lose his rook, and then this bishop will be able to stop the pawn here with the king. So it will be a draw. Okay, we'll move on to another one real quick here. But yes, you want to start out with simple tactics, maybe one move problems. Try a group of 50, go through it once and take your time the first time. Then try and cut your time down faster. And I would recommend going through the problems about 7 times to reinforce it into your memory by repeating those problems over and over again. And then you could try a larger group of problems, 100 problems, and go through it slowly the first time, then faster and faster until you're only taking 10 seconds to look at a problem and try and solve it. That way you'll be able to solve and find tactics more quickly in your chess games, especially in tournament play, when time and the clock is a factor. All right, so here, yes, another pinning the rook to the king, and then that will allow black to have a draw here. If we look at the evaluation, it's a draw. All right, I'll show you another tactical problem here just to move these along. Okay, white to move here. So take a look at it. What would you do with white to move? Hopefully you followed the theme of the pin here. So if we take a look at it, white is winning, and the best move is queen to a1. So another pin, although that may have been difficult to see because the queen was down here in the corner and had to move all the way across the board to the other corner. But this pins the rook, and that's the best move, and this rook will be lost. and white should be winning easily. So you can try and do a set of problems with one theme, like all pins, and then all forks, or checkmate problems, whatever you decide. And then at some point, I would recommend mixing it up. So you have a bunch of random problems all mixed together, because that's what a normal chess game is like. You never know what tactic will pop up until it happens. And so it's more realistic to just study a mixed and matched set of different tactics. But the key is to go over those problems multiple times, try and slowly do them faster. That way you can work on your speed and seeing tactics more quickly, and repeat them until it just becomes ingrained into your memory, and you're more likely to remember those tactics and then be able to use them in your own games. All right, so we'll move on to another problem here. Let's see, number 5. Okay, so here it is white's turn to move, and what should white do in this situation? Now, take a look at it, see if you can figure it out. If you need more time, pause the video at any point. Okay, following the theme of the pin, we will try and set one up. So you could start out with tactics problems that are very easy to reinforce the basics. Do one move problems, and then you can add slowly some more difficult problems that might have combinations of tactics, or it might take a setup for the tactic to work, such as this problem. So here, white is winning. Now, the best move, there are different options that white could play here, but it looks like the best move is to capture this pawn. And then if black is smart, he'll play the best move and just push this pawn here and leave a little escape for the king. But if black thought, oh, I can just snatch up this knight for free, well, then he falls into this trap with a pin on the queen against the king here. And so the queen would be lost. So that took a little setup. Now, you can try and set up tactics in games and they won't always work. But you have to be ready and familiar with the tactics. That's why it's so important to do a set of tactical problems over and over again. And some people might not like to do that. I've tried it myself and it has helped, but then you kind of get burnt out after a while, and you really have to be strict and discipline yourself to keep doing the problems over and over again, even when you kind of get tired of them. So, I'm sorry to say it's not a shortcut to improve your chess. It takes some hard work, but it can definitely make a big difference in your game and help you improve your tactics, be able to see more tactics, and also help you avoid blunders and making tactical errors in your own games. All right, so let's move on here to another problem, and I'll try and speed these up a little bit now just to get through these problems. I wanted to show you some basic examples, things you can use to go over, or to add into your own tactical set of problems. And you could either do them on your computer or make index cards or printouts and cut them into a stack of tactics that you can go through over and over. There are many different ways you could try and do this. Okay, so we are on problem number 6, and white to move here. So what would you do in this position? Looks like the material is even, but we have black attacking white's queen, And hopefully you will see the common tactical theme here and be able to solve this. So pause the video if you want to look longer, but hopefully you found the simple tactic here, and there's a mate in 2 using the back rank attack here, a back rank mate threat. So check, capture, and then mate here. So this is a common back rank mating tactic. And these are the kind of things, these simple tactics, you just want to see a lot of them and just go through a bunch of these problems and then repeat them and then repeat them again and again, probably a minimum of 7 times through a set of problems, and try and solve them faster and faster until you can just blast right through them quickly and they're kind of burnt into your memory. And then, maybe a week later, a month later, go over them again, add in new problems with the ones you already did, try different sets of problems. All right, moving on, we'll look at another tactic here. All right, so problem number 7. All right, what would you do here with white to move? So, after the last problem, hopefully that will help you solve this one. And another common tactic here that you have to know to help you play better chess. So, the evaluation is a mate in 3, and of course, rook to c8. So hopefully you found that. It shouldn't have been too difficult. Unless you're a beginner, then that's all right. If you miss things, we're trying to help you improve. All right. We have a check here, but black is able to block, but it just doesn't work here because block, capture with check, block again, and mate. So watch out for those back rank tactics. Definitely study them so you can use them and so you can defend against them. Okay, moving on to problem number 8 here. Let's take a look. All right, so now we have, let's see, white to move once again. And what will white do here? So take a look and hopefully you'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly. All right, so the evaluation is a mate in 1, of course. So I hope you found that. And by doing tactical problems, another thing that will help you with is to be able, especially when the board is crowded with pieces everywhere. Here it wasn't too bad, but sometimes you'll be in positions where there's just pieces everywhere, and you have to learn to look through the mess of different pieces and find the tactics. And that's easier if you drill tactical problems into your memory and do them over and over again. So here, of course, queen to d8 is a mate because the bishop helps here by covering this escape square. So a common back rank theme with the queen attacking and the bishop covering these this weak escape square here. All right, on to the next problem. Number 9. Okay. Here it is black's turn to move. So what would you do here with the black pieces? I'll flip the board around. Maybe I should have done that in the other problem that had black to move. So black's turn to move. Take a look at this. All right, so here with black to move, if you need more time, pause the video. If not, hopefully you found the common tactical theme here, another back rank mate in 2. But first we must set it up with bishop to d4, delivering a check. And the king cannot escape outwards because now the rook is covering this square. And so he's trapped in the corner, moving here to h1 and then the mate is achieved. All right, let's move on here, and I'll try and finish. I have 6 more problems, so I'll just try and do them quickly, just to give you some ideas of some basic tactics that you could study and then drill them over and over again until they're burnt into your memory. Okay, so here, once again, black's turn to move. So you can take a look at this, pause the video. Also, I'll flip the board again. So now you can see more clearly what should black do here. All right, well, hopefully the last problem helped you to be able to figure this one out. So once again, we're trying for a back rank mate here, but this is a little tricky. So you can start with basic 1-move problems and then slowly increase the difficulty, especially as you do more and more of these tactical problems. All right, so what we're looking for here is a mate in 4. So a little more tricky, but hopefully you found this. So start with queen to d4 check, because the king is blocked by these rooks and cannot move outwards. He can only move backwards. Now you're saying, oh, but the bishop can just capture here. Yes, that's correct. But now this bishop will recapture and force the king into the corner. So then rook check, capture, and finally the back rank mate. So that is how you can slowly build on the easier tactics. Once you get to become very good at solving the 1-move problems, the 2-move problems, you can slowly make a compilation of harder 3- and 4-move tactical problems and start drilling yourself on those. And then slowly you'll be able to solve and see and find these more difficult tactics in your own games. All right, moving on to number 11 here. All right, here it is white's turn to move. And what should white do? So take a look at this. White is, obviously ahead in material here, so winning, but how does white finish the game off in the quickest possible way? So take a look and see if you can figure that out. All right, let's see what happened here. Evaluation is plus 39 in white's favor, so white is definitely winning. And the best move, there are different options, of course, but if you want to simplify the game down into a 1 endgame in the best possible way, this tactic of sacrificing, and then the king here is trapped and forced to capture, but now you're able to capture the pawn with a fork, and now the king must move, let's say to e8. Well, now the queen is captured. So that's an example of where you can make a compilation or put together multiple tactics. We had a piece sacrifice that basically lured the king onto a square that allowed this fork by the knight to win the game. So that is another thing to think about when you're making your list or your compilation of tactics to go over and over. Start out with easy ones and slowly work into combinations of tactics that work together. All right, let's move on to problem number 12. And for that one, we have something that's a little more simplified here. So in this position, it's white's turn to move. What should white do? Well, hopefully after the last problem, you'll be able to solve this one pretty easily. But, it is a little tricky. Beginners may not see it. All right, let's see here. white is definitely winning, and the best move is just to capture the knight here. And so now there's a fork with the queen forking the king and the queen. So if this king tries to move, the queen will just be captured. So after queen recaptures, now we see that theme again of the fork here with the king and queen. The king will move and the knight will capture the queen, and white will be winning. So that is another example of how tactics can build upon each other and be combined, and how you will want to slowly up the difficulty of the tactical problems that you go over. That way, that will help you find more of those in the games that you play and help you avoid them, so your opponent can't spring a trap on you. All right, let's take a look here. Number 13. So I only have a few more of these and then I'll end the video. Number 13 here, white to move. Where should white go here? Let's take a look. All right. Let's see here. It looks like white's turn to move. What do you think he should do? Now, if we take a look at this, white is obviously winning, but what is the best way forward? So here's the evaluation. White is way ahead here, plus 35. Okay, well, the computer recommends knight to b5 or knight to c6, but basically white can just fork here, attacking both of the pawns, and then if the king comes over here to protect this pawn, then he can just, well, there are other options here. One good option is to bring the king up to assist, but he could also just capture right away and then try and march this pawn up to promotion here, and the king can stop this pawn, of course, and the extra knight. But anyway, a simple tactical fork there, but those are the kind of things I would start with, something easy, and work your way up and try and just burn those tactics into your memory. All right, 2 more problems and then I'll wrap this video up. Okay, white to move here. What should white do? So take a look at this. It looks like there's a lot of stuff going on. Black is piling up on white here, threatening an attack with his rooks doubled up. Maybe capturing here and forking the king and the queen. Black's queen is lined up here as well, threatening a mate. Once the queen is knocked out of there. But it's white's turn to move. And white is behind in material here, I believe. Let me take a look. Maybe not because of the pawns. So, 3 pawns to 3. So material is even. A bishop and 2 extra pawns for a rook. But, what does white do to quickly end the game here? So, pause the video if you need more time. If not, let's find out. So white is ahead here and definitely winning. But what is his best path forward? Well, it looks like rook to h8, checking the king, which is trapped here. And whenever you're trying to solve tactics, it's best to look for forcing moves first. So, especially if you're trying to mate your opponent, see if a forcing move gives you an advantage, and here it does. It gives white an advantage by attacking the king, and when the king is in check, there's usually only 3 ways to get out of it, and that is to block the attacker, which can't be done if they're side by side, to run from the attacker, which cannot be done here because the pieces are blocking him in, and the rook is covering everything else. And so the only other option is to capture the attacker. So after that, now bishop captures with check, a discovered attack here. So the bishop checks. The best move is to capture that bishop with, looks like king captures, but this allows the queen to capture black's queen, and now white is definitely ahead here. A queen against a rook and the extra 2 pawns, and should be winning easily. All right, another example of a combination of moves that work together to complete a winning tactic. All right, and so now I'll show you one more problem before I end this video. Number 15 here. Okay, once again, white to move. Look at this, figure out what white's best move is here, see if you can solve it. And this is a pretty famous little tactical problem here. This could be from an actual famous game. So you may have seen this and recognize it instantly. But it has good teaching value by showing this to you again, or to all those who have never seen it. All right, well, let's take a look. So there's a mate in 3. Now hopefully that will help you if you haven't been able to solve it yet. So let's take a look. All right, it involves a queen sacrifice. You know, always a flashy tactic if you're ever able to sacrifice your queen. So queen to d8, the forcing move. The king cannot block, he cannot run, so he's forced to take his only move, which is to capture that queen. But this sets up a discovered double check here. So bishop to g5. Now we have a check by the rook, the discovered check, and the double check where the bishop and the rook check the king at the same time. And so now there are 2 options. The king, he can't, whenever there are 2 attackers checking at the same time, there's no way he can block both of them at the same time, and there's no way he can capture both of them at the same time. So his only option is to run, and the 2 options are to run to c7 or e8. So if he runs over here to e8, well then rook to d8 will win. And if instead he runs down here to c7, well then now we have bishop to d8 winning. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed those tactical problems, and remember, the fastest way to improve your chess is to start doing tactical problems on a regular basis. So I would recommend just starting with maybe 50 tactical problems. Make sure they're easier ones so you can reinforce the basic tactics like pins and forks, discovered checks, discovered attacks, all of that kind of basic stuff. And just, or you could focus on one particular type of tactic that you really want to improve on. Let's say you just want to work on pins. Well, set up a series of 50 tactical problems that only involve pins. Go over them once, taking your time. Then try and do them quicker the next time through. Maybe time yourself and try and do them and only give yourself 5 minutes or less. Well, then cut your time in half and go through them again, and then cut your time down again. And I would recommend going through those problems about 7 times, and then on that final 7th time, only give yourself like 10 seconds per problem, just to see if you can look at the problem and instantly find those tactical problems, because by then they should be burned into your memory, and going over them again and again should reinforce them in your memory, and you'll be able to just find them much quicker. And hopefully this will translate into your games, where you will see your opponent's tactics against you and be able to counter them. You'll be able to use tactics and spot tactics that you can use against your opponent to win more often, and improve your chess in the fastest way possible. So, as a recap, the fastest way to improve your chess is just to drill tactical problems. Start small with easy basic problems, and if they're easy and you're just blasting through them, slowly work your way up by adding more problems. Do 100 and go over them 7 times. Then try 200, until you have a whole pile, maybe 500 problems, and by then you could work up to more difficult ones, and mix in a whole bunch of different ones. So it's more like a game where you never know in a chess game what tactics might come up. You just kind of have to find them as you're playing. So that's when you'll really improve, when you're just solving random problems and they're a little difficult and you're going over them and over them until you can just spot them almost instantly. All right, well, I hope you all enjoyed this Chess Secrets video on how to improve your chess the fastest way possible. And you might have to do this for a long time. Drill those tactic problems until you're sick of them. And it may take some hard work, but it should improve your chess more quickly. All right, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave comments or suggestions or requests on specific videos you would like to see in the future. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.